Hello and welcome to the YouTube channel of Indian Administrator. So if you haven't subscribed my channel, then please subscribe it. So in this video or in this series we will be discussing the economics for preliminary examination, that is CSAT. In this video, first we will talk about the fiscal policy. What is fiscal policy? Then we will discuss types of fiscal policies. And then we will talk about the difference between fiscal policy and monetary policy. After doing this, we will be discussing the implications of fiscal policy on the economy. Fiscal policy on economy. So I think I will be able to cover these things within 15-20 minutes. And if you want to learn more about economics related to UPSC and civil service examinations, I have many other videos uploaded on my channel, and you can access the channel by going on to youtube.com/Indian Administrator. So let us start now, and thank you. Okay, so now let us discuss what is fiscal policy. Fiscal policy refers to the influence of the incomes and expenditure of the government. So if you can compare a budget of your home with the government budget, then some things are the income from where, suppose you are working, you are getting income from somewhere, and some of them are expenditure. So your expenditure is on books, your expenditure is on by giving fees in your school or college, your expenditure is clothes and some miscellaneous like the commuting expenses and all. So like in the same way, the major source of income for the government is taxation, because in everything from cradle to grave we pay taxes. Taxes is the one of the minute and important things which a man cannot escape from. So even when a child is born in the hospital, that for the delivery and all, the father has to pay taxes. So when he is registered in the MCD's office, then he has to pay taxes, service tax for his registration of name and all. So you cannot escape from taxation. So in the same way, the income from the government is from the taxes which we are giving, and the expenditure of the government is the public spending, the spending on the roads, the spending on the subsidies, and the spending the government is doing for the poor people, for giving the facilities like police and etc. So the two main instruments of fiscal policy are the government taxation and the government expenditure. So these are the two instruments, you can say, of the fiscal policy, right? So the consumption level of the masses, or the income from taxation which is receiving by the government, depends on these two values, the policy changes. Like whether the policy, what kind of policy should government make to take a balance between the income and the expenditure. Okay, so based on these, there are three major kind of fiscal policies. Let me change the color of my highlighter. I think black will be fine, right? So based on these things, there are three types of fiscal policies any government can adopt for. So one is the neutral fiscal policy. neutral fiscal policy. Second one is the expansionary fiscal policy. And the third one is the contractionary fiscal policy. Right. So neutral, as the name suggests, it means that the government spending is fully funded by the taxes which government is taking from the people. So in the neutral fiscal policy, the spending by the government is equal to the taxes collected by the government. So in this case, if the policy is like this, like the amount which is coming from the people is spending on the people, the government is spending on the people on various policies and all, then this is the neutral fiscal policy. And in this case we can say that the economy is in equilibrium. If it is a neutral fiscal policy, then the economy is in equilibrium because the spending is equal to taxes. And now the second one is expansionary fiscal policy. So in an expansionary fiscal policy, the government, as the name suggests, the government spending is more than the tax revenue. So in the expansionary, the government spends more, spending is greater than the tax collected. So in this case, government has to add some amount from his or her pocket, right? So government is adding some amount into the from their own surplus savings, or they can lend money from somewhere and then they are adding into the tax collected, and then after they are spending on the people, like they are giving subsidies and all. So in this case we can say the government's economic policy is expansionary fiscal policy. And now the third one is the contractionary fiscal policy. Okay, one point which I want to make in this expansionary fiscal policy is like, generally recession, what is recession? Recession occurs when there is a drop in overall spending, when government has to spend some X amount of money but he's not able to spend, or he's not able to arrange from outside, so then the recession happens. So in let us take this expansionary fiscal policy again. So suppose if government spending is greater than the tax collected, then government has to arrange amount from somewhere, but he is not getting the amount from somewhere, then they have no money to spend. And if there is no money to spend, then the recession will happen and the prices will jump. Okay, so inflation we will be covering in the other videos, but for now you just remember that recession happens when the expansionary fiscal policy is not able to, when there is an expansion fiscal policy and government is not able to fulfill the other requirements by somewhere or some other means, right? So now the third is the contractionary fiscal policy. In contractionary fiscal policy, it occurs when the spending is lower than the tax revenue. So if suppose government is getting 100 rupees from the taxes, and if government is spending only 80 rupees, then this is the contractionary fiscal policy. So in this case, the excess money can be used either to pay the government loans which they have took from the IMF or from World Bank. So in this case, when government took a contractionary fiscal policy, then the surplus amount which they, or the left amount, like the 20 rupees here, this is left, the left amount, either they can pay their debts or they can use it for savings, or they can do whatever they want for the benefit of the people. So these are the three kinds of fiscal policies which we have discussed. Now let us discuss what is monetary policy and fiscal policy. versus monetary policy. Right. So as we have discussed, fiscal policy deals with the taxation and expenditure decisions of the government, but on the other side, the monetary policy, it is the supply of money in the economy and the rate of interest. So like this, the fiscal policy and the monetary policy, both, they are the main policy approaches used by the economic managers or our finance minister, and with the help of another instrument that is called the rate of interest, it is monitored. So monetary policy and fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is done by the government, and monetary policy is the rate of the interest or the flow of the money which is coming in the economy. And here in our country, the monetary policy is decided by the banks of the bank, which is the Reserve Bank of India or RBI. So this is the difference between the fiscal policy and the monetary policy, that it is by the government, it is by the RBI. And when we will be discussing about the monetary policy, we will be discussing about the repo rate, the reverse repo rate, the lending rate, and other economic terms. But for this video, you just have to remember the fiscal policy is by the government, by the finance minister, or by the complete government, and monetary policy is by the RBI, where they check the flow of money in the economy. And fiscal policy has many parts, like the taxation policy, expenditure policy, or investment and disinvestment strategies of the government, that how many government bonds need to be issued and how many, and surplus managements and things like that. So, and here I want to emphasize that in fiscal policy, if there is surplus or there is deficit, the deficit which is by the government, like we have discussed in the initial part of the video, that if the government is short some money, then they have to buy in case of contraction policy. So then they can borrow it from the foreign sources or from domestic sources, or they can print the money. But printing is not a good option, because excessive printing of money leads to inflation, right? Because there will be a situation when money will be very much in the economy, like 1,000 number of notes chasing only 2 products or 2 quantity of anything. So in this way the inflation increases. But when it borrows from the abroad, then we are in the sovereign debt, and this is the sovereign debt which has happened in the Europe, when people started when the Europe started borrowing money, and they couldn't pay back. So it's a sovereign debt, and it will lead to debt crisis. And if the foreign exchange reserves which we have in a country has, and they took money from the foreign reserves, then a balance of payment crisis could happen. So getting money from outside is not that bad, as long as the government is getting a good taxation income, right? So I think these are the points which are let us cover in this video, and in the coming parts of economic series by Indian administrator, we will be discussing the internal debts and external debts, the framework of the fiscal administration, some direct taxes, indirect taxes. So that will be coming in the later part. So thank you for viewing the part 1 of the video by Indian administrator, and you are watching the channel for the UPSC preparation. Thank you once again, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, then please subscribe it. Thank you.